Hey guys, HappyChild here, and in this video, I'm going to show you guys how I got a Beyblade world record. So basically guys, if you don't know, speedruns are really popular nowadays. There's all kinds of speedruns, from Cookie Mama to Mario to Minecraft to sharpening pencils. Everyone has been doing them for some reason. So I was like, I wonder if there are any Beyblade speedrun world records, if I can speak. And considering this video is being made, and considering if this video was made and you read the title, there was one. And basically, as you can see, I'm gonna try and put something on your screen. Someone sped run on an official speedrunning website a while ago a world record for launching Beyblades in 30 seconds. So basically, the record was you have to launch a Beyblade 11 times in 30 seconds. That's the current world record. The setup was basically the same. This was a while ago, back in the Metal Bay era, but it doesn't change things. The only requirements were you have a stadium, you start with the Beyblade in the stadium, you pick it up, put your ripcord in your launcher. It has to be a launcher with a ripcord, not like any string launcher or whatever. Nothing modded or anything crazy like that. But besides that, you basically do that, you launch it, you put the ripcord back in, launch again. Just make sure the ripcord's all the way out and everything, you know, pick up the Beyblade and start again. So basically, I'm going to take you through the process of how I got the world record in this video. Everything from the Beyblade combo to the ripcords, we're going to go all through it now, starting with our first run. So let's get straight into this. So basically, for the first few runs, my strategy was to use this combo. It has Nubian as the layer, so it's rounded, easy to pick up. It has bearings, so it keeps the Beyblade tight together. And it also has a frame that kind of makes it easier to catch. As you guys can see, this is footage from me using it the first time, kind of just showing what I had up to the camera. And I use also a Takeratomi black light launcher with a twisty screw port kind of ripcord in which the handle twists, and that came from a special launcher set. But basically my idea for that was that it'd be easy to put in the launcher from any direction, and that's basically it. Here we go though with the first actual try speed running this first take. Here we go. Let's show the footage. Okay guys, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Okay guys, I think that was my first run, and I think we got 6 or 7 launches in, which honestly isn't too bad. Or so I thought, at least at first, but as it turns out, we had a lot more work to do. At this point, I was just trying to kind of get the process down. I wasn't really optimizing much, just getting into it, but soon, as you guys can see from all the footage in the background, started getting a little faster, started making some changes, and started really getting into the speed run rather than just starting up and scratching the surface of it. And now it was time for experimentation. So I do all kinds of different changes, make all kinds of different combos and launcher differences, test them for maybe 15 minutes, and then change based on what I thought needed to be improved. So one of the first changes that I made was launcher-wise. I went from a Takeratomi one to a Hasbro one because at the time I felt like it was easier to get in the more floppy launcher, and the follow-through felt better. So I changed that initially. Now I'm just going to go through some of the other little changes I made that got me to my final combo. So first of all, I switched eventually from a Nubian to other layers, starting with Drasil. Drasil was a really good mix because it was kind of round, but it also had these bumps on it that made it easier to catch. So initially that really helped out. I used that combo for a while, but since it was a plastic remake, it bursted a ton, and it was hard to keep to manage how much it bursted. So it just wasn't worth it. I tried the Kerbeus layer a lot because it was a perfect mix between Drasil and a Nubian, but once again, it just bursted a little bit too much. And the layer on top, one improvement that I found was that with the Kerbeus layer, it actually was a little easier to get the ripcord prongs in, because the Nubian layer, it almost bulged a little at the top compared to the Kerbeus layer, where the clear plastic on top of the Beyblade was completely flat. So that was one improvement that I found, but once again, the Kerbeus layer just bursted too much, and it was just hard because instead of getting a grip on it, sometimes my hands would just kind of clink with it, and then it'd get caught and it'd yelp away or get knocked away. So it was just a really weird mix, but we were going places with it. During this time, I also experimented with Forge Discs. I wanted something that was light and easy to launch. So initially, like I said, I started with 12 or 13 with the cross frame so that it was easier to scoop up or grab. Eventually, though, I ended up changing to yell because it angles upward all by itself, so I didn't need a frame or anything, and it just seemed to feel a little bit better and easier to grab. So just to conclude this section of my run, basically what I discovered was that a nice light Beyblade did best with a layer that did not burst super easily, but that also was either big enough or had protrusions so that it was a little bit easier to catch or scoop up. That was my analysis at this time. Also, another tip that I learned was to get a good speed running clock, because the one that's just on Google, you have to click to start it. Get one where you can use a space bar to start it, because it saves a second or so, and it gives you some security when you hear or when you know that you pressed the space bar, compared to when you think you clicked, when you might not have actually. So get a good speed run clock, play around with it a little, and that's about where I was at this point in the speed run. So now it's time to transition into the grinding phase. So basically during this time, I found some combos that I really started liking and started really grinding them rather than switching out every 2 seconds. I was more loyal to these combos and really tried to push them to their max. And here's where I started coming across a lot of success. One of the big switches I made was stadium-wise, because with the Takeratomi Stadium I was using, the walls were big, so it was hard to scoop up the combo, and I ended up having to almost like grasp it and like push it to the floor, kind of squeeze it to make it stop, which was making it bursting more. So instead I switched to a slingshot stadium because I could take off the walls and it was really easy, and B, the cup or like the bowl where the Beyblade ran around in was smaller, so that means it could get like away from me a little bit less, saving a couple of seconds or whatever, and just making a slight difference that really made the run easier. Also, my biggest change and my biggest help was switching to a slingshot performance tip, because rather than squeezing the Beyblade to like pick it up, I scooped it. So the performance tip helped so much. Slingshot, I used the one that came on Judgment Joker because it didn't move around too much, but just enough to where by the time I got the ripcord back in the launcher, it was right where I could just slide my hands under it and pick it up. So rather than having to pinch it or stop it with my hands, I scooped it up. Therefore, since my hand wasn't touching the layer, it did not burst as much because it was just friction with the tip rather than the layer. So that was a big change. And then one of the biggest changes too was using Garuda and Air Knight, because these two combos, what I was having a problem with before them was that the energy layers, like I said, you either had to get something that bursted a lot and was easy to grab, or something that was circular but small and hard to use. This was a compromise because both of them had good burst resistance and both of them were circular, but they also were big enough to where you didn't have to worry about them slipping out of your grasp. So that really helped. I ended up going with Air Knight because it seemed to work a little better than Garuda for me. It was a little bit more edgy. It had a little bit more like protrusions to it, but that made it a little bit easier to grasp. So I went with that and started grinding these combos out. Also switched to a Takeratomi launcher because this was a huge help for me, because the Hasbro launchers, their ripcords were so flimsy that they'd bounce around a lot and they wouldn't go in the launcher very quickly. Along with this, the ripcords would jam, and Hasbro launchers would jam sometimes if I didn't pull it hard enough. And so that would really mess up some of my runs. So going back to Takeratomi launcher, huge change, guys, because I used like a Hasbro launcher for like 60% of the runs and then just switched. But it ended up helping a lot, even though it was a weird change. That's about what I did during this period in my speed runs. Now it's finally time for the end game. This is where I started really getting good times and knowing that I could actually do this. This was a couple of hours in, guys. This was a whole day of just doing this. I get determined, guys, and I was zoned in on this. And so basically we took all of what we've learned so far up to this point and applied it and just grinded and got good at it and started reaching that end point. Eventually, I was able to get a run that tied the world record. I was super excited, took a break, took a deep breath, came back and got this world record run, guys. Let's go. Let's show the footage. By 2, guys. Oh my goodness, that was either by 1 or by 2. We beat it though, guys. Oh my goodness, after grinding for hours, we finally beat it. And so, guys, we now have a Beyblade world record. I can't wait to do more, and I can't wait to see you guys getting involved in this. I think it'd be so much fun if lots of people start speedrunning Beyblade stuff. Anyways, with that being said, keep your horns up and smile a while. See you guys next time. Bye.